Mallory Arnold, author of How to Survive a Horror Story and Cross My Heart, I Hope You Die, coming out in July. And this is One Final Twist.
I am with Mallory Arnold today. I am super excited to talk about I've got a copy of How to Survive a Horror Story, and I picked it up in New Orleans last year, and have the opportunity to read Cross My Heart, I Hope You Die. How to Survive a Horror Story was your debut, correct? You are a cat mom, a runner, um, an editor, and a writer, all of the things.
All of the above.
So tell those who are watching who haven't read Cross My Heart, I Hope You Die, kind of the premise of the book.
Yeah, so it takes place in Montana in a made up town called Stonevale. But it's about three women who find out that their boyfriend is all cheating on them. And he has taken a decent amount of money from each of them in his own manipulative ways. And to get this money back for legal reasons and to kind of enact this revenge on him, they lure him to a mountaintop in Stonevale, which ends up being this kind of haunted, cursed place with a lot of dark history because a cult used to be there and may still be there. So they wind up kind of trapped on this mountain, thinking they're going to, play out this fun revenge on their ex-boyfriend and wind up, trying to survive.
So we have the three main women, Nora, Ruby, and tell me if I'm saying it wrong, but Sham, right? Okay. Um, are they based on people that you know in your life?
Oh God, no, no, definitely not. Especially the man. Yeah, Jason is just definitely not anyone that I know. I have a lovely husband. There are no, yeah, I get that asked a lot, especially with the characters who are more conniving and evil. They're like, do you have pretty evil, manipulative friends? No, everyone is their own. They just came out of my mind.
What was the original fodder then for this book? I mean, this book, let me just say this, it came at such a good time for me to pick up and read it. I absolutely needed a revenge. I needed that. But it's so much more than revenge. It's revenge, it's thriller, it's horror, and there is some like validation, some friendships. Like I mean, it goes through the whole story. So what was the original piece of fodder for the story?
Yeah, I think I tend to think of situations first when I start a novel. I just think of the absolute worst situation you could possibly be in. Being cheated on by your boyfriend, having money stolen from you, and winding up on a cult infested mountain, you know, in the middle of a storm, surrounded by people that you don't really know. So it started with the premise and then kind of worked its way through, how would these women kind of deal with this? And each, they have to be so unique in their own ways. They're not all enacting this revenge for the same reasons. I think they all, at the core of it, end up just realizing that they're lonely. For their own reasons, each of them aren't super social. They don't have a lot of friends. And yet somehow when the worst of the worst thing happens to them, they find friendship in each other. So not that they should be thanking Jason for what he did, but he did bring them together. So yeah, just start with the situation and then build, the characters from there.
Compare How to Survive a Horror Story with this book. Which one, like, okay, let me start over. How was your writing process different between the two? How did you grow as a writer?
How to Survive a Horror Story, I definitely did a lot more mapping out, which it seems to digression to the second where I didn't map out a ton. I didn't plan as meticulously. How to Survive a Horror Story, there was more mysteries and hints and clues because it was kind of based off of the game Clue. So there had to be a lot of methods to the madness. The second book, I didn't really map out as well. It was all by feel. It was how the characters would naturally react to certain things, how their relationships naturally formed. So I guess I was kind of flying off the seat of my pants for the second one.
Do you feel like you're hitting your stride? Like, are you finding a happy place right now in this publishing journey?
I think I'm so new. I'm so fresh. This having only being my second book. And I look back at all these prolific, successful authors, and they have archives of 50 to 60 books before their most popular books come out. And I'm thinking like people are talking about my first two books, the they want your style to hit now. You should have your style hit right away. So I hope that I'm kind of articulating the best of me that I can be on a page. I think I kind of gravitate towards the campy, the more funny horror, the which a lot of people don't really realize that you can be funny and horror at the same time. So I hope that I'm coming across like that, but I can guarantee that things will change as more books come out.
And they both have, you mentioned the funny part of it. I don't know if it's like a satirical, like a little element, or how you would describe it, but there is, and it's just like at those darkest points when your characters find this, like, I want to call it like a oof, like they
Mhm.
have these moments and they're realizing things, but the characters grow. I guess it is a slasher, but the characters are growing as the story goes too.
Yeah, definitely. And I always try to think of like how I or any close people that I know would react to these horrible, just, oh my God, situations. And I think you would honestly react either, screaming, running, crying, or in kind of this disbelief, like scoffing at it. Like, this cannot actually be happening to me. This only happens in the movies. So I think that the humor of that kind of naturally comes out when you see something so horrific and terrible.
Your time as an editor, how does that help you write?
I've never really been asked that before. It definitely gives me like every sentence has value. I try not to do throwaway sentences. I'm usually cutting things because as an editor, I was cutting a lot of things. I was just slashing things. It also makes me a lot more agreeable to critiques and edits from like my editor, my agent. I love hearing their feedback, not only because they're talented, but because I've spent years doing the same thing where it's never personal, it's always to benefit the content. So just being able to already have that in mind and not have so much of an ego, I think that's helped me in the publishing industry early.
When writing Cross My Heart, I Hope You Die, did you have to back out of any major scenes? Did you say, "Oh, this is getting out of hand. I need to bring this down"?
There's been a few, we've had to tone down a few of the gorier scenes, I think, because it is just, I think I get a little carried away with the descriptions on the page and I can go on and on just describing a little bit too in depth. I'm very into like what things smell like, what they taste like, what they sound like. Those are all super important to me horror wise, and I think it can ramble on a little bit long, so there's been some times where I have to reel myself back and be like, do we really have to describe how like rotting flesh smells? Like, I don't know. I just
There are a couple really, really, really graphic ones in here. I mean, I think if you pick up a book and you know there's a horror element in it, you need to be prepared for it. And as a reviewer, sometimes it frustrates me when I see people saying, "Well, that gave me nightmares," or "Well, what did you think that you were getting into when you picked that up?" Like,
right, it should come with like a warning, just this is horror, be prepared.
so thriller versus horror, and then when you put those genres together, and like you said, you have an imaginary town.
Mhm.
From the reviewer side, I see a lot of reviewers who like to debunk. They like to find those holes. They like to, if I were a writer, I would want to make everything imaginary too. So I don't, it can be my story. It can be what I tell. Do you like staying in the genre mashup?
Um, as far as like realistic versus
Yeah.
making your own. Yeah, I definitely I think it can be tough with horror, especially when like their criminal aspects come into it, because I'm not in law, I'm not in criminology, I don't know certain things. So there definitely is, especially when it comes to Cross My Heart, I Hope You Die, there is a bit of like criminal aspect to it. Um, and you kind of have to suspend disbelief. I research as much as I can, but sometimes if you prepare someone by creating a town that they know doesn't exist, that is, it has its own backstory, its own history that just seems kind of far-fetched and wild, you kind of give a little bit of grace for the rest of the novel to be like, okay, this isn't going to be, word for word realistic to its core.
Did you find anything that threw you off in the research getting ready for either book that you were like, holy fright, that's real?
Oh gosh, there's a lot of research into like legally what can happen if you do give someone that you're dating a large sum of money. And there are so many like fine lines and red tape where, I don't want to give too much away, but if you give someone a lump sum of money and they basically have proof that it was a gift, and if that proof happens to be like a thank you card describing the gift, then you're pretty much never going to get that money back unless you go to court, spend a lot of money on lawyer fees, just kind of like all the nitty gritty details of like how terrible it is to be involved with a cheating, conniving person. That's the most jarring, surprising thing to me. I've done all I anytime I look up something like graphic or gory, like what does a bone sound like when it snaps? Realistically, that doesn't surprise me. But the law aspects of it, all the jargon and stuff, that really shocked me.
Reviewing and editing these books too, when you read them, and I actually will sometimes go down rabbit holes myself. I think I wonder if anybody ever looks at my search history. Do you ever wonder if somebody's watching you? So there's a plant and it comes up in our gardens and it can actually kill you. You can ingest it and you can die. And I'm like going into this whole big thing and I'm looking at it and I'm like, yeah, I could kill somebody with that. And now it's in the cloud for somewhere.
There has to be so much of that out in the world, especially with how much interest there is in, crime podcasts, crime TV shows, just like mysteries and conspiracies and horror being so big as it is right now. I think the cloud is a little forgiving. I would hope. Otherwise, we have some issues. They're going to be coming and knocking down our door pretty soon.
That's, I do wonder, I mean, you would think if AI even could find a way to track some of these things and prevent some things from happening if it becomes too much.
Actually, the deep-seated crime writers who are essentially writing how someone can get away with a murder and just barely, their character has to, catch them, but it would assume that everyone else in the book, might let it slip if not for this like main detective or lead investigator. So that's just crazy that there's information out there that can help you get away with the perfect crime.
Absolutely. So this book has obsession, validation, and revenge. What do you want your readers to walk away with from the book?
I think obviously to have had a good time, to have this be a book where you just want to devour it immediately and kind of like flip through the pages. It would be the highest of honors to have been a book where people force themselves to stay up late to read it, to finish it. But as far as like the plot and what I want people to take away from it, I think just the value of taking something terrible and growing from it, and kind of looking into what revenge and validation means to you and reforming it into something good. All three of these characters set out to get some kind of revenge and validation and ended up just learning more about themselves. And I know that sounds so cheesy, but it's true that they went up on the mountain thinking that they were going to come back with like money and feeling better about themselves. And they came back kind of filling holes that they didn't even know were there in the first place.
So this book, and like you said about binging this book, this was one of those times when I'm glad I have a Kindle because I can roll over at night and still see it, and I don't have to, because I've got the headlights that go around my neck. But that's how I did with this. I just kept rolling over. I didn't sleep. I mean, I burned through. This was a fast read. It was, I need to know what they're going to do. What are these women going to do with this? Because you're like, empathetic and then you're mad with them. I mean, you want them to get all of the things. Like I didn't, and you don't know if anybody's bad.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah.
this was so good. I loved it. I absolutely loved this book.
Highest of compliments.
Did you read horror when you were a kid?
Yes, definitely was of course, the R.L. Stein's Goosebumps was my absolute favorite. Series of Unfortunate Events was also, it was like kind of mysterious, but still spooky enough. Um, I did read bits of Cujo when I was really little. My parents had like a really old copy of it, and I remember there was a dog on the front, so I thought that was, going to be fun. It turned out to be a little more graphic than my like 9-year-old self was ready for. Um, but I didn't really do a ton of horror. I gravitated towards like the creepy and the weird, aliens really fascinated me. Um, there's an old Cartoon Network show called Courage the Cowardly Dog, which was just like absolutely messed up, just a total nightmare for children. But I thought it was fascinating. Scooby Doo, obviously. And then as I got older, I read so much horror, but I don't watch horror movies. I can't sit through them. They make me nauseous. I get really sensitive with like gore, which is so crazy because I can write it. I just can't see it. And I haven't figured out why yet, but we're working on it.
Do you think that you will stay in this genre or will you branch out and try something else?
I'm pretty comfortable in the genre right now, but I mean, there's so much, again, I'm so fresh, I'm so new. There's so much growth to be had, so much to learn, especially from more talented and prolific authors. I could definitely change genres, but I'm so good where I am right now. I love the spooky and the mysterious and the thrillers. I think horror, there's so much creativity that it offers you because you can just create, you don't have to follow the guidelines. There isn't really anything that you have to stick to, whereas a lot of other genres kind of are intimidating because there are certain tropes and formulas that you need to abide by. And horror, I get to just create a bunch of monsters. That's good enough for me.
I like reading horror because it does have you can pull from so many different pieces. It could be a little sci-fi. You can have, I mean, you can have the little fantasy, you can have the little thriller, a little mystery. Like it has a whole lot of opportunity. And it's not always that there is a jump scare or a slasher. You can be afraid of redemption or you can be afraid of your future. I mean, there's a lot to be said for it. Well, this was a question that was sent to me. What was there a specific classic horror influence behind Queen Manor?
it wasn't a horror book or movie. It was the board game Clue. When I
Ah,
was little, I would play the game by myself, and I didn't really know the rules or the instructions or whatever. I would just kind of make up stories with the characters and all the little utensils that were. I think there was like a wrench, a knife, a rope. And I thought the board was so beautiful. I don't know if it was just like the board that we had, but the mansion itself, it was just drawn out so it was amazing. And maybe it's because I come from my parents are architecture and interior design. So just spooky houses fascinate me and just how they're both gorgeous and terrifying at the same time. So I always wanted when I was playing the game of Clue for the board to be part of the game. I wanted the stairs to move or the walls to talk, things like that. So I think when I started writing How to Start a Horror Story, it just that came up and I was like enacting a childhood dream to complete this Clue game that I had started so many years ago.
so this book comes out in July. What's next for you?
I do have, again, I'm so fresh. I don't know. I think I can say this. I have two more books coming out that I know of that are in the horror realm. They're not, sequels or, additional from that stem from these two books, but they will be in the same horror realm. And I am so excited just to be working on them currently. And yeah, that's what's coming up for me.
Are you going to haunt the readers?
I am, yes.
Yeah, I'm super excited for that one. I think it's going to be really fun. Are you going to do BoucherCon in Calgary this year?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I'm so bad at like my publicist sends me like lists of places that I'm going and I mean to remember them and I just don't. So I could be, but I could not be.
If I it's we the kind of the rule of thumb for anybody all of us readers is number one, how are we going to get all of our books back? And number two, if I'm going to Calgary, I'm not going to stay inside. I'm going to be outside. I'm going to hike for the week. So I don't know that it's
For sure. I've started seeing different book festivals and conferences offering the option to ship your books back, which I
mhm.
think is so fantastic that it should just be like a flat rate, ship them back because it just is. You have to bring a whole other suitcase.
Yeah, I mean, you really will. I mean, you come home with a ton of good books there. Is there a question that nobody's asked you that you always wish that we would have asked?
That's a really good question. I don't think so. I think people are they're pretty inventive with their questions. Maybe like if I'm a disturbed human being on the inside, or like if I'm okay because, or if I'm an angry person, or how my life is going. I'm so fine to answer all those. I'm so fine. I'm not a disturbed person. It's all good, especially with the second book. My in-laws read an advanced copy, and because it centers around such a horrible human being that is the like final boss of all Chad boyfriends, they were like, "Oh my God, Mallory, is everything okay with Corey, my husband? Like, are you guys good?" I'm like, "I promise this is totally not based on anyone."
That's so I actually have read an author before and I had to stop. I thought I'm gonna have to reach out and contact them because I'm worried for their mental health.
Yeah, for sure. It makes you you're like, there has to be something going on with you there.
So I have to talk about running. This is a thing. So I saw that you're trying to run a marathon in every state.
That is the goal.
Have you done the Derby Marathon?
No, I have not.
I don't know if so they may not be doing a full one anymore, but I know they do a half marathon for the Derby week coming up.
It's so cool.
Well, we passed it, but for the
Yeah.
Derby week next year, I guess for the Derby one. How many states do you have left?
Oh my gosh. I think I've only done, the problem is I started double dipping because I liked the races so much that I just went back year after year. So I've done like three in Ohio already, like two in Tennessee. I think I've only done about six states. So I have a very wide, gap to fill, but we'll get there eventually.
Have you done the Disney World one? Don't they do one in Disney?
Oh, those sell out instantly.
Do they?
But I every year I try to get in there because I am desperate to like dress up as the Nightmare Before Christmas guy and just gallivant through Disney World. I think that would be so fun.
That would be a fun one. Have you always been, or did you run in high school and college?
Um, I ran in high school. I wasn't good at it. I think, priorities were different, and now it's a little too late, too little too late to like compete professionally or whatever. I'm not an elite. But yeah, it's really fun.
Do you think so? Both of the books, I mean, maybe you can tell me this. You have an isolated kind of setting. Are the next two going to have that too?
I have found, and my editor has found, that I really thrive in isolated settings. I think it's kind of my thing to not really trap people in one place. Maybe for the third book, they're certainly not trapped, but they are kept for another reason. Just I think it creates a little bit more of a tighter environment, a tighter set of rules. Um, it's so hard to implement horror sometimes across a vast area, especially with something like, if you see a ghost or see something paranormal or weird is happening, if you apply it to like reality and the rest of the world in the modern day age versus like a very small town, it's just very different. So I do tend to keep, was there a ghost in your room right there?
My dog opened the door. He did. It was so quiet, and he just opened the door. Get, Chunk, go. We have the doors with the handles like that, and he just goes where he wants to go. He's a big brown lab. He
Oh,
scared the fire out of me just now.
I love
I
that.
I have like the startle reflex that babies have, like that. I never grew out of that. I will fall down if you say boo, and I come around the corner. I will karate chop the air, scream, and fall over every single time.
Yes, my husband always he could walk around the corner or just like be standing in front of me and I'll jump and he'll go, "I live here. Like you can't you have to know that I'm here." So I do the same.
No, I think it's because you get you concentrate. You're so focused on whatever is in that moment that and I mean I don't know how yours is, but my mind is like a ping pong game, but all the time, and it's never slows down. So I really have no self-awareness, I don't think. What are you currently reading?
Actually, Carrie by Stephen King. I'm rereading over and over again. Maybe I probably should come up with something more like prolific to say, but I've just been suckered into it again. I don't know why. I was just craving it. I'm also dabbling in something that I don't normally do, but Dungeon Crawler Carl, that series. My friends are all reading it, so I picked it up, and now I'm knee deep in the second one, which I'm surprisingly loving.
Yeah, so I did this year. I decided 2026, I'm just going to step out of my lane. I'm going to try little things all over the place. And I picked that up too. And I had to make myself note cards because I'm not a gamer. I don't know. Like if you play Mario and that little mushroom pops up with the things, I need that all to slow down so I can read those.
Yeah.
So, so I had to make myself note cards to know what all the acronyms were for the gaming world. But by the time I got through it, I was so into it. And then when somebody says, "What are you reading?" I'm like, "Well, there was a man, and he's in his boxers with his cat underground,
Mhm.
and he says GD donut all of the time." Like, and I think, did I really just read that? There's something fun about that series that you just get lost in.
It's and I there's something so it gives me so much joy to know that someone got to put all these thoughts on the page, because he that author is just probably those were going through his mind all day, every day. Like he's been thinking about this plot forever. And the fact that he gets to put like these ridiculous but wonderful words on the page is so fantastic. I'm obsessed.
If you could road trip with an author, dead or alive, who would you pick and where would you go?
Probably I want to say R.L. Stein just because I love him so much. And I don't think we would. I'm from Ohio. He's from Ohio. I lived in Columbus a little bit where he's from. So probably just like we would travel to a coffee shop in Columbus and I would just leave him alone. I would sit across from him and just enjoy him, but not to ask him anything because I feel like he deserves peace. So that would be my ideal dream.
He's been at it for a very long time. Did you go to Thriller Fest in New York?
No, I did not. I heard it was so fun though.
Wasn't he there? I think he was at Thriller Fest or something. I think he was at Thriller Fest because I keep seeing people coming back saying, "I cannot believe I got to meet, like he was right here in my presence."
Probably. I listen to all the podcasts. He has like so many nuggets of wisdom that I just trying to retain. I want to be him, but in my own 29-year-old body. That's what I strive for.
I keep forgetting, and I'm glad that you said that because I mean, you are very young and you are just starting out and things are going so fast for you. Do you find that overwhelming or do you just feel like all the blessings coming down?
Oh yeah, I mean I'm so grateful that the first book I was, I had no idea what the publishing world looked like. I didn't understand it at all. I had amazing teachers that kind of led me through the way, but yeah, I was like, "You're gonna pay me for this book? Like, what is that? What's that? What's that like?" But it has been super fast, but I'm grateful for it, and I hope that it's not like a hot and bright thing where I flame out. I would like to be a longevity writer. I want to stick around for a long time. So just trying to kind of like create a base and put out really, quality stuff so that I can be around for as long as I can.
You definitely have a good fan base. I mean, you've got a good a solid bunch of people who are looking forward to your books and that are coming out. So it's kind of cool. And you're in a good writing community in Nashville.
Mhm. Yeah, this area, I'm in East Nashville, and there are at least five indie booksellers that are just in my neighborhood alone. And they're all so amazing. Like they've all reached out to me just to be like, "Hey, you're a local author. Let's chat." And just there's a big romance writer scene in the community, which that's where I had a writing group, and they were all romance authors. That's where I started. So everyone here is super supportive, not only in the author writing community, but because everyone here is a musician. I think they understand what it's like to strive for something creative, to strive to put something out there and be vulnerable like that. So it's really nice to, even if they're not in the publishing world, to have people who understand and motivate you like that.
Before we end, do you want to tell us like your handles and how to get into contact with you, or give a shout out to any of the bookstores that you mentioned that might have signed copies of your book?
Ooh, oh my God, I have no idea who has signed copies, but I will say I'm having my release party at Parnassus with I cannot believe that I got this, but with Paul Tremblay. He'll be stopping by on his tour and he's promoting his book, his newest book. And that's just going to be an absolute crazy night. And I'm so thrilled. My Instagram handle is just Mal Writes Words because Mallory Arnold was taken, so I had to do something stupid. But yeah, I'm around. I post a lot of Diet Coke content, and I love hearing from people, and I'll always chat about cats and Diet Coke and books.
The cats and their readers are a big deal.
It is. I know. So I thought I was so unique, being like, I have cats and I like Diet Coke. Absolutely not. There are millions among us. They all the same.
And so when is the release day for this? Where the 14th?
I should know that off the top of my head, shouldn't I? It is the 15th.
The 15th. Oh, I was close with the 14th. Oh, I might be able to make it down there for that one then. But I got to turn around and go all the way to Mount Joy. So I may try. I don't know if I'll do that one or not, but it will be fun. I have family who lives in Franklin.
Oh my gosh, I love Franklin. Franklin is adorable. It's so cute.
It is a great little town, so I may try and get down there.
Mhm.
Well, thank you for joining us on One Final Twist, and it was really great to talk to you.
It's great to talk to you too. You said you were long-winded. This was so concise and wonderful. I really appreciate you chatting with me.